besides the, very large and popular ones like Hinduism. I had this in a comment and I thought, I bet there is some stuff that I don't know, and I bet perhaps the demographics are different than I thought as well. So anyway, the reason I make these videos is as a sleep aid, or to help you not feel lonely, to entertain you, to educate you, things along those lines. So feel free to get into a comfortable position if you're going to sleep, if you're chilling out, if you're drawing, if you're going for a stroll. Just feel free to release the tension, from your body. I make these videos so that you can be calm, and also provide you with a brief opportunity to think about your life and how you treat those around you. Remember to treat those in your life with love and respect. Okay. Now, religions in India. Religion in India is characterized by a diversity of religious beliefs and practices. The preamble of the Indian Constitution states that India is a secular state. The Indian subcontinent is the birthplace of 4 of the world's major religions. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, mainly, namely Hinduism and Buddhism. I knew that that was the birthplace there. But also Jainism and Sikhism. I knew that Sikhism was born there, but not Jainism. I'm not sure what that even is. Collectively known as Indian religions, that believe moksha is the most supreme state of the Atman, soul. According to the 2011 census, 79% of the population of India practices Hinduism. Wow, this looks to be a very religious country. 14% adheres to Islam, 2.3% to Christianity, 1.27 or 1.72 rather percent adheres to Sikhism, 0.7 to Buddhism, 0.37 to Jainism, also to Zoroastrianism, Young Drunbon, and Baha'i faith. Sananism and Judaism also have a history in India, and each has at least several thousand adherents in India. Interesting that there is only 0.37%, oh, pardon me, 0.7% adhering to Buddhism in India. That's lower than I expected, definitely. But I guess, Buddhism is probably more popular in China after, it got brought over to China. Wow. I don't know what Samaism is, or Young Drunbon, or Jainism. Is that what it's called? Interesting. Have you heard of those things? I know Baha'i. I had a very good friend who was Baha'i in high school. I thought he was very cool. Anyway, India has given refuge to followers of persecuted religions across its history. However, right now I'm sure that's a very contentious thing to say. In the post-classical period, sanctuary was granted to Hebrew Jews who fled captivity in Babylonia, Aramaic Christians who fled the Islamic invasion of Syria in the 7th century, and Persian Zoroastrians who fled persecution in Persia. Wow! In the 9th century following the Muslim conquest of Persia. In the 20th to 21st centuries, sanctuary was granted to Russian, Persian and Afghani Jews, Christians, Jains, Sikhs, Hindus and Ahmadiyas who fled persecution in Pakistan. As a result, India has the largest population of people adhering to Zoroastrianism, i.e. Parsis or Iranis in the world. Throughout India's history, religion has been an important part of the country's culture. Religious diversity and religious tolerance are both established in the country by law and custom. The Constitution of India has declared the right to freedom of religion to be a fundamental right. Today, India is home to around 94% of the global population of Hindus. Most Hindu shrines and temples are located in India, as are the birthplaces of most Hindu saints. Prayagraj hosts the world's largest religious pilgrimage. Prayag Kumbh Mela, where Hindus from across the world come together to bathe in the confluence of three sacred rivers of India, the Ganga, the Yamuna and the Saraswati. The Indian diaspora in the West has popularized many aspects of Hindu philosophy, of course, such as yoga, meditation, Ayurvedic medicine, divination, karma and reincarnation. The influence of Indian religions has been significant all over the world. Several Hindu-based organizations such as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the Ramakrishna Mission, the Brahma Kumaris, the Marga, and others have spread Hindu spiritual beliefs and practices. The Indian subcontinent, meaning Pakistan, Sri Lanka, surrounding areas, also contains the largest population of Muslims in the world, with about 1/3 of all Muslims being from South Asia. By 2050, the Muslim population of India is projected to grow to 311 million and surpass Indonesia to become the world's largest Muslim population, although India will retain a Hindu majority, predicted at about 77%. India is also the cradle of Ahmadiyya Islam, the shrines of some of the most famous saints of Sufism, like Moinjun Christi and Nizamuddin Aila, are found in India and attract visitors from all over the world. Before the Mughal Empire and Delhi Sultanate, as much as 90% of the population may have fallen under the Hindu umbrella. Although demographic information on pre-modern policy or politics is scarce, the elites of those empires came from historically Muslim ethnicities, and many sought to harmonize their personal religion with the Hinduism of their subjects. Nevertheless, a backlash during the 17th, 18th and 19th century re-established confessional boundaries, and genealogical evidence suggests that many modern-day Muslims have some Hindu ancestors. So let's talk about the history of religion in India. With prehistoric religion, interesting, fascinating. Evidence attesting to prehistoric religion in the Indian subcontinent derives from the scattered Mesothelic rock paintings depicting dances and rituals. Neolithic pastoralists inhabiting the Indus Valley buried their dead in a manner suggestive of spiritual practices that incorporated notions of an afterlife. Valley civilization, which lasted from 3300 to 1400 BCE and was centered on the Indus and Ganga-Hakra river valleys, may have worshipped an important mother goddess symbolizing fertility. Excavations of Indus Valley civilization sites show seals with animals and fire altars, indicating rituals associated with fire. A Shivlinga of a type similar to that which is now worshipped by Hindus has also been found. The Indus Valley civilization is one of the oldest, possibly the oldest civilization we have on record, and it's really extremely fascinating. I think that would definitely make for a good Whispering Wikipedia series. If any of you would like that, please leave a comment below. Now let's talk about the evolution of Hinduism in India. Hinduism, known endomically as Santanam Dham, is often regarded as the oldest religion in the world, with roots tracing back to prehistoric times over 5,000 years ago. Hinduism spread through parts of Southeastern Asia, China, and Afghanistan. Hindus worship a single god with different forms. Hinduism was practiced more as the culture of the land and dominated Indian society until the colonial era. Hinduism as a culture had always been traditionally practiced, where spirituality and science are embraced in conjunction. And in Hinduism, Sanattam Dham is considered the grandmother of all philosophies. Post-Western influence, Hinduism over the years has been typecast as a religion. Hinduism's origins include the cultural elements of the Indus Valley civilization along with other Indian civilizations. The oldest surviving text of Hinduism is the Rig Veda, produced during the Vedic period and dating to 1700 to 1100 BCE. During the epic and Puranic periods, the earliest versions of the epic poems in their current form, including Ramayana and Mahabharata, were written roughly from 500 to 100 BCE. Although these were orally transmitted through families for centuries prior to this period, meaning they are very old. After 200 BCE, several schools of thought were formally codified in the Indian philosophy, including Samkhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, and Vedanta. I wish I knew how to pronounce these correctly. Hinduism, otherwise a highly theistic religion, hosted atheistic schools and atheistic philosophies. Other Indian philosophies generally regarded as orthodox include Samkhya and Mimamsa. Interesting. There's so many things here that I don't know what they are or what they mean. Each one of them probably would make an interesting video. The Shramana tradition includes Jainism, known endomically as Jain Dham, and Buddhism, known endomically as Bodh Dham, and others such as Ajivkas and Ajnanas, and others. The historical roots of Jainism in India have been traced to the 9th century BCE, with the rise of Vedanta. The 23rd Jain Tirthankara and his non-violence philosophy, and to Mahavira. The 24th Jain Tirthankara following his conversion and unified the Indian subcontinent in the 3rd century BCE. He sent missionaries abroad, allowing Buddhism to spread across Asia. Indian Buddhism declined following the loss of royal patronage offered by the Kushan Empire and such kingdoms as Magadha and Kosala. The decline of Buddhism in India has been attributed to a variety of factors, which include the resurgence of Hinduism in the 10th and 11th centuries under Sankaracharya, the later Turkish invasion, the Buddhist focus on renunciation as opposed to familial values and private property, Hinduism's own use and appropriation of Buddhist and Jain ideals of renunciation and ahimsa and others. Although Buddhism virtually disappeared from mainstream India by the late 11th century CE, its presence remained and manifested itself through other movements such as the Bhakti tradition, Vaishnavism, and the Pauls of Bengal, who were influenced by the Sahayanga form of Buddhism that was popular in Bengal during the Pala period. Now to the Bhakti movement. During the 14th to 17th centuries, when North India was under Muslim rule, the Bhakti movement swept through central and northern India. The Bhakti movement actually started in the 8th century in South India, which is present-day Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and gradually spread northwards. It was initiated by a loosely associated group of teachers or saints. Prepare for me to butcher some names. Dayaneshwar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vallabhyacharya, Surdus, Mira, Bai, Kabir, Tulsidas, Ravidas, Namidyo, Eknath, Ramdas, and Tukaram. I'm so sorry. And other mystics who were some of the saints in the north. They taught that people could cast aside the heavy burdens of ritual and caste and the subtle complexities of philosophy and simply express their overwhelming love for God. This period was also characterized by an abundance of devotional literature in vernacular prose and poetry in the ethnic languages of the various Indian states or provinces. The Bhakti movement gave rise to several different movements throughout India. During the Bhakti movement, many Hindu groups regarded as outside the traditional Hindu caste system followed Bhakti traditions by worshipping/following saints belonging to their respective communities. For example, Guru Ravidas was a Jama of Uttar Pradesh. Guru Parsaram Ramamni was a Chura. Chikisadgar and Maharishi Ram Naval was a Bangi of Rajasthan. In their lifetimes, several of these saints even went to the extent of fighting conversion from foreign missionaries, encouraging only Hinduism within their communities. In Assam, for example, tribals were led by Gurudev Kalicharan Brahma of the Brahmo Samaj, in Nagaland by Kachanaga, and in central India by Birasa Munda, Hanuman Aran, Chatra Bhagat, and Buddha Bhagat. The Kabir sect. The Kabir Panth is a religious movement based on the teachings of the Indian poet Saint Kabir. Kabir, the legendary saint of India, descends directly into his tradition of mysticism singer critic. Kabir, father of the Bhakti movement leading in the 5th century, Kabir upturned their religious conceptions of social principles Hinduism that appealed clearly to the poor and convinced them of their access to God with no liaison. He denied both Hinduism and Islam, as well as meaningless religious rituals, and condemned double standards. This infuriated the orthodox aristocracy. No one could frighten Kabir, who was bold enough to stand up for himself and his beliefs. The Kabir Panth considers Kabir as its principal guru, or even as a divinity, which means truth incarnate. Kabir's influence is testimony to his massive authority, even for those whose beliefs and practices he condemned so unsparingly. For Sikhs, he is a forerunner and a converser of Nanak, the originating Sikh guru, spiritual guide. Muslims placed him in Sufi, which is mystical lineages, and for Hindus he became a Vaishnavite with universalist leanings. I find it super interesting that in Indian subcontinental religions or similar, different religious figures or even events become canonized in their own specific religious view of history, in a way that's very similar, or very different rather than what I experience coming from a majoritively Christian country, where Christianity doesn't really do that very much. So, for example, Jesus is, talked about in Islam very differently, also depending where you're talking about in the Quran. Some places in the Quran say nice things about Christians. Some parts of the Quran that I've read also say that you should kill them. It depends where you're selecting from. I think Muhammad might have had a change of opinion or something about halfway through when he moved to Medina. But my understanding of Islam is not enough yet. And you learn about, how, Gautama Buddha would have been kind of in the Hindu, era, but created his own subset of philosophy or ideals, which then, stopped being a philosophy for some and turned into just a mainstream religion, which is ironic, because that's the opposite of what he was trying to do, at least what some people say. And then the fact that some people, or some believers in Hinduism, bring Buddha to be a saint in Buddhism, or a reincarnation of one of the, Hindu gods, and I find that the irony in that he split away, but then in the future people brought him back to their religious canon. A really great example of large-scale historical dramatic irony. Very interesting. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. There's been a lot of content, and there's still a bit to go, so we'll have a few more videos dedicated to this. I'm just interested to see where this goes, where perhaps this leads us, what we learn, and I'm also interested for it to go down and explain what were those little religions with only a few thousand followers in India that I don't really know what they are. Should be interesting.